some information about the upcoming independent film I'm making. Just got to make sure people can see it. Am I live? Can you see? All right, peace. So I'm going to be talking about just my independent film I'm working on. John Hughston here. And I realized the other day, with the name like John Hughston and directing an independent film for the first time on a scale which I'm trying to be as professional as possible, it's a bit of a problem because let's say in 50 years, someone comes along and their name is Steven W.F. Spielberg, and the Spielberg is spelled differently. So someone named Steven Spielberg in 50 years, who's clearly not the Steven Spielberg, is filming a movie. It's going to be kind of hard for him to make a name for himself, this Steven W.F. Spielberg, in 50 years from now. He's probably better off changing his name. So I'm John W.F. Hughston. There's a famous director named John Hughston, Hughston. And Hughston could be related to me, because the Hughston and Hughston, when they came overseas from Europe and they landed in New York, you all know the story. The customs dude, whatever, the border guy, he'll some of them couldn't read or write, and so they're like, "How do you spell your name?" Like, I don't know. And literally, the person filling in their name rewrote thousands of people's names. And so Houston can be spelled Houston, like Houston, Texas. Huston. Mine is Hughston, kind of a more British spelling. I did a search on the name, and there's a doctor in England named Dr. Houston. Anyway, I'm talking about my movie. I've been working on this movie for easily 4 months straight, on the props, on the sets, on the costume, custom stuff. Originally, this movie is set 500 years in the future, because the whole point is we've seen Back to the Future 2, where it's 2015, and we see Marty McFly look around in 2015, and he sees flying cars flying around, and we're like, there's no flying cars like that in 2015, because it was written by Robert Zemeckis or some other guys who read a book from the 40s called Back to the Future. Now that book it's loosely based on that book, which Robert Zemeckis will never admit to. There's a book from like 1943 entitled Back to the Future, written by a guy named Meeburn Stannyland. I read the entire book. I finally read the entire thing. So the Meeburn Stannyland Back to the Future book from, I think it's 1943. It's kind of a dystopian, depressing it's a depressing futuristic movie. He goes to the future, and the future in this book from 1940s, I think it's 43. In the future, there's long lines of people waiting for food, and he gets in line for food because he just traveled to the future and he's starving after a while. He gets in line for food, and they tell him, "Oh, you don't have your food ticket." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have a food ticket. Can I please still get some food?" They're like, "No, you got to go in that other line. You need to get your papers. Where's your ID?" He's like, "I don't have an ID." And he can't really explain how he's from the past and he traveled to the future. No one believes him. So he's kind of a homeless guy, a couple chapters there. And they make him go through a lot of red tape to get an ID, to get a meal ticket, a literal ticket connected with your name. And that's the depressing story of Back to the Future by Meeburn Stannyland. Anyway, I'm very fascinated by futuristic tales. H.G. Wells, The Time Machine, Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis' movies are amazing. I'm not going to say he grabbed a book from the 40s and ripped it off, because if anything, he got the title from the book. He developed and made a wonderful world. I prefer the Robert Zemeckis Back to the Future world to the super depressing lines and regulations for meal stamps in the Meeburn Stannyland book. Meeburn Stannyland It never went to a second printing. That book only has a first printing. And the book has nothing to do with my movie. Uh, I'm not going to use any inspiration. Nah, not necessarily. I'm inspired by Blade Runner, but sure, I'm inspired by Back to the Future. But there's no time travel in my movie. My movie originally takes place 500 years in the future because I don't like it when the director writes something that's 35 years in the future, 30 years in the future, and then you get to that 30 years and you're like, there's no flying cars. So I wanted it to be so far that I'm dead when that time hits. So I can't be like, it's not even close. But so no one around me can say, "Oh, that's not even close," because I'll be long gone. So that's why I wanted it 500 years in the future. But I realized 500 is too far because there has to be at least a flying car in 500 years. So I'm going to change the date to 100 years in the future. There's no way I'm going to live 100 years. There's not going to be any cryogenics head transplant things going on. Walt Disney's head, rest in peace, sadly, is not going to be reanimated. It's just not going to happen. Even if Walt Disney did cryogenically freeze his head, which he probably did, he was at the cutting edge of cryogenics. I don't know if you've heard the story of Walt Disney becoming interested in cryogenics. Maybe he knew about an ailment, and maybe he knew, he smoked a lot. Maybe he had lung cancer. Who knows? But I don't even know how Walt Disney passed away. I'm not sure. But he famously froze his head and hid it. Or maybe he famously froze his whole body. No one knows. It's a mystery. It's definitely a folklore, and anyone in Disneyland that works there would talk about it and hear about it. Everyone's heard about it. But I was listening to Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell, back in the day. And the guest, was it a guest or was it a caller? I think it was the guest. It was a guy who ran a cryogenics company. That's what he did. He froze, or maybe his dad. His dad froze people, rich people before they die, or maybe the second they die. Instead of going in a coffin in the ground, they wanted to be frozen in this cryogenics facility just in case. And yeah, the son took over the business, and the son said, "Oh, there's power outages all the time. The bodies thaw out all the time. They got to refreeze them." He's like, "No one's waking up. It's not going to happen." And this is Art Bell talking to this guest, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Art Bell. This was when Art was still alive, most definitely. So the son tells Art, I'm pretty sure he was Art. It could have been the guy after Art, but I'm almost positive it was Art because I pretty much stopped listening to Coast AM at that point. This story is long and drawn out, but I'm going to tell you about my movie. So this guy tells Art that my dad was contacted by Walt Disney and said, "What is the cutting edge cryogenic secrets? I want to know. I want to buy your equipment or use your guys' facilities. What is your cutting edge?" Basically, Walt Disney really wanted to spy and get the technology and use it for himself. And when this guy, who was the cutting edge United States cryogenics guy, admitted his technology involves a freezer and dry ice, and that's it. Walt Disney's like, "I can get a freezer, I can get dry ice, bye." And Walt Disney supposedly worked on it before he died. Worked on increasing the technology of cryogenics. And that's why there's a good chance he did freeze his body, or some say just his head. So that's the story there. More hoax hunter. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't made videos in a couple months, and there's a hummingbird flying around. And there's my cat. You want to see my cat? My cat's watching us. Thing. Nixie. Hi, Nixie. The reason Nixie's not outside with us is because Nixie jumps the fence. Nixie jumped this fence right here. She just climbed on up and jumped on it. And she's really good at jumping fences. And now she's obsessed with getting in the neighbor's yard. I don't want her to jump in the fence. But it's kind of chilly out here. I'm in California right now. Yeah, she's a pretty small cat. I think she possibly was the runt of the litter. She's a particularly short kitten, and so she's gotten bigger. And one time I had to leave and on vacation, and I came back and she's kind of fat. She ate all her food, like too many proportions. But now she's back to her regular weight. She's nice and healthy. She's jumping around. Her name is Nixie, and Nixie is definitely going to be in the movie. Nixie doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be featured in the movie. She's too. So my movie takes place 100 years in the future. Instead of 2525, I think I'm going to go with 2125. So I'm thinking my movie is going to be in the year 2125. Far enough where you get a gist of this totally bizarre abstract universe that I'm writing and creating. And I've already created props. I've created many props. Keep her off In-N-Out Burger. Well, I gave her, actually, I gave her the healthy chicken treats for, I think it even said for kittens. And these healthy chicken cat food, it's healthy chicken cat food. The more healthy chicken cat food you get, the fattier it is. And it was particularly very fatty food. Probably really good for them, but not in the quantities she had access to because we just had to feed her and she fed herself for like 10 days. For like 9 days straight, she ate this super healthy organic chicken cat food and got really fat. But it took her a couple months, but she's back to normal weight. So, yep, Nixie. So Nixie's actual first name is Phoenix, and Nixie is just a nickname of Phoenix. I know Phoenix is kind of a boy's name, but I wanted her to be like a phoenix in this video game I played called Ultima 7 Part 2 Serpent Isle. And in Ultima 7 Part 2 Serpent Isle, there's a phoenix in the game, and it talks, and it's a female phoenix. And I guess I looked it up. The Phoenix in the game does have a name, but I like the name Phoenix better than the name. And someone shortened it to Nixie, and I like that a lot because Nixie tubes. She's kind of Nixie tube color. She's black and orange. But so the movie is currently entitled Necktie Bandits. But I've had the title Necktie Bandits for like 8 months now. Even before I worked on the props. I got necktiebandits.com. Now, the more I hear it, the more generic it sounds. There's already a movie called Time Bandits. There's already a movie called Bandits. But there's no movie called Necktie Bandits. But, see, the movie's about the future. It's not just about some random bandits. And so, to really show the future aspect of the movie, because it takes place 100 years in the future, in the far future, a dystopian future, but not necessarily depressing like the Me Bernstein land. You could say Blade Runner is kind of depressing. I wanted to go more Blade Runner, but obviously this is a lower budget, all right? I don't have millions of dollars. This is a legitimate independent film I'm making. I was originally just going to be a short. It was originally just going to be 10, 20 minutes long, 10, 15, 20 minutes long. But I'm like, no, if I'm going to put this much effort into it, it's going to be the full thing. I don't know if it's going to be an hour and a half or 2 hours. It might be an hour and 45 minutes. It might be an hour and a half. Maybe I'll go 2 hours. That seems like kind of pushing it. But I'm definitely going to fill it and make it a full-length movie. And it's going to be independent, low budget. But I do have some legitimate actors in mind. And I haven't cast anybody yet, except for potentially 2 people. And I'm going to be the main character in the movie. I know, it seems, you haven't seen this character, though. It's not me. It's a character I invented, and it is a character inspired by the time-traveling tie traders short I made back in 2007. And that 2007 short is an idea I came up with in a notebook. I wrote ideas down, I got this tiny notebook, like at Walmart, and I actually got like 10 of them because I kept filling up these books. And I think I got the idea for the books from Jerry Seinfeld, believe it or not. Jerry Seinfeld said the only difference between a comedian and a non-comedian is comedians write stuff down, and non-comedians are like, and they forget it. They forget these funny observations they make. And I didn't use it exclusively for observations. I used it just for, interesting ideas. And one idea I wrote down was time traveling tide traders, and it was definitely meant to be a skit, a comedy skit type of a thing. But the more I thought about it, and I thought about it too much, is it could be expanded into an entire futuristic universe. And time travel is not a necessity. I'm not going to have any time machine. There's not going to be time travel. It's just going to be a guy in 2125, approximately. I could change the date. I could make it 2124 or 2126, but around that time frame. And I can't give away all the secrets because I want to reveal everything. I was originally going to shoot in the my laboratory, where I have a lot of props. Maybe next time I'll do that. Okay, I gotta kind of clean it up a bit to not give away too much. So my next live stream, I'm gonna try to film over there. You're gonna see just a grasp. You can grasp a little bit more that here's a bunch of props. Here's a bunch of things going on. I'm making the wardrobe from the extent of getting a shirt, getting pants, getting shoes, and then altering them to an extreme degree until they, from my perspective, look like they're from the future. And any cyborgs? Well, that's a. I definitely want it to be cyberpunk to an extent, like light on the cyberpunk. Um, a cyborg is not out of the realm of possibility. I haven't actually created any cyborg. I haven't created any cyborg props or wardrobe pieces yet. Um, that's a possibility. I can give you a little glimpse into it. Almost it might be a rule, because I might have a rule where every single person in the entire movie has to wear glasses, sunglasses, or glasses of some type. And I am customizing a lot of futuristic glasses and sunglasses. Where we're talking 50 pair of sunglasses. And I've probably customized, 5 of them. And the rest are we're talking dirt cheap stuff I got off AliExpress. And that's not an advertisement. But AliExpress is where I've already sourced a lot of money on just the bare building blocks of a lot of the props I'm customizing. And it's not really from scratch. I'm not making an LED light by melting and making it from wiring from scratch. But I'm grabbing LED lights and I'm making some really interesting stuff. You're going to see in the movie. Some props. I did see a movie a couple months ago, and it does take place in the future. I don't know the name of the movie, and the movie, everything you see and absorb in life does have some residual, what's the word, inspiration. And so, maybe that movie does give me a tiny bit of inspiration. And in that movie, the props are a cardboard box. He puts a cardboard box on his head. And I'm like, huh? So that movie ran out of a budget, and the rest of the props in the whole movie were cardboard box related. I'm not going to be going no cardboard box route. I'm going to be really working on actual LED screens and custom things, custom products. My character's going to be drinking something, 100% custom, doesn't exist, not in real life, but in this universe. And it's not to make any money. I guarantee I'm going to lose money and probably make $0 off this. And I'm going to try to release it as many places as possible. It's basically a resume builder. I'm not going to lie. It's a resume builder. I'm going to try to compare this to other directors' movies. Their very, very, very first movie. Perhaps their college entry to get a grade in the class movie. So Frankenweenie, Tim Burton's movie Frankenweenie, is guaranteed as a budget probably a million times more than my movie has. But movies like Primer, the movie Primer, independent film. When it first came out, I heard it cost $5,000 to make. I recently Googled it. They say it took $7,000 to make. So that's a very low budget film. I'm not sure Primer did cost $7,000 to make, but it's in the realm of possibility if his friends were acting for free, basically. If his friends were acting for free or for pennies or for $100 on the entire film, if basically all the actors in the film acted for $100 or $150 or whatever, then it's theoretically possible that movie cost $7,000. But renting the camera alone would have cost a lot of money. Did he borrow the camera from someone that owns it? I'm going to secure a camera custom for this movie. I don't have the camera yet. I'm probably going to get the camera sometime in July. And that's how far I am not even going to start filming. But it is going to rain today. And I do have a cinematic lens. And I do have a really good Panasonic camera. And it's not a movie camera. But to get some B-roll, I was thinking of filming some rain. Because I definitely wanted some rain in the movie. It doesn't rain in California that often. It's extremely rare. Yeah, it's in America. I live in California. It's going to be filmed mostly where I live, it's South Central California. But there's a Bubblegum Alley in San Luis Obispo, and Bubblegum Alley is a 40-minute drive north of me. And I'm gonna drive the 40 minutes, and I don't want to give away too much, because the second you give away even the smallest thing, someone grabs it, does it, and says you copied them. But I'm going to have a funny scene in Bubblegum Alley, and just as a transitionary scene. So I'm sure you are familiar with movies, how they work. But one time I was filming just a skit. Yeah, that's right. I worked for a call center, and the call center found out about my YouTube channel, and they said, "Oh, can you make a movie?" And I've never released this movie. It's called Shirley Holmes. And there is actually a movie called Shirley Holmes. And it's not the one Google results is going to tell you about. So those people told me to call it Shirley Holmes. The people at the call center, they're like, let's call it, it'd be like Sherlock Holmes, but Shirley Holmes. And my manager was Shirley. And she was the investigator with a big magnifying glass prop that I made. And the whole point of Shirley Holmes that I directed, and no one's ever seen it, because they said you can't post it on YouTube, you can't post it on social media. I'm like, okay. I have a copy of Shirley Holmes that I directed. So actually I did direct that, and I put a lot of work into it. I did a special effect, I did this and that, and I actually filmed in the basement of a old record company. And I swear, there might have been a ghost down there. There might have been a ghost down in the record company basement, because it's the type of basement that looks like no one had been down there in 10 years. And so that's the type of places ghosts hide, spirits hide, anyway. But I get off on derailments. I am going to film in San Luis Obispo, just one scene, just a couple alleyways. So Stanley Kubrick, my favorite director of all time, everyone's favorite director if you're a movie fan. Clockwork Orange, one of my favorite movies of all time. The famous estate that Alex DeLarge robs and does horrific things with his gang. They drive up to the property, and then they step on some stepping stones, and then they're at the house door. Well, them driving to a place is a certain place. The stepping stones is a different place, totally different location. And the house is a totally third different location. So that's three totally different locations Stanley Kubrick seamlessly wove together as a director And as the viewer, you think they're just driving up to the house and walking up to the house. It's three different locations, and so I like that trick that a director can use. So I'm going to be walking in San Luis Obispo alleyways, just a couple of them here and there, as transitionary scenes, and then I'll be at a totally different place, totally different city, totally different location. And I just like the alleyways in San Luis Obispo. They're pretty cool. And you have to have permits. You have to have filming permits. Will I have filming permits? Perhaps I will. I mean, but there are loopholes. I can't talk about it too much, but if you're one guy with a camera, you're not a film crew. And if you're not a film crew, then you don't need to pay the film permit laws because you're not a film crew. There are tripod laws. You can't set up a tripod. What if you're one guy and you do it for 1 second? So there's certain things you can get away with, and there's certain fines you got to pay, this and so on and so forth. But when I look into the fines and I look into the, you gotta you gotta buy film insurance. Sure, you gotta buy film insurance if you're hiring SAG-AFTRA union actors. But if you're not hiring SAG-AFTRA union actors, you don't have to buy film insurance. So I'm learning all these millions of different things that if the movie Primer followed to the T, Primer would have cost $100,000 easy if they followed every one of those laws. So Primer clearly didn't. The time travel movie Primer obviously didn't follow any of those filming laws because there's no way you could film with following all those filming laws and paying all those fines and getting all the licenses and getting all this and that, the rigmarole of having a crew and this and that here and there. I wanted to film in Chinatown, San Francisco, and it's theoretically possible I could film in Chinatown, San Francisco for a couple scenes because I love Chinatown and San Francisco from a setting scene. It's very beautiful, futuristic. It kind of, it's kind of a more grimy version of Blade Runner. It's not the bright lights of Taiwan. It's not the bright lights of Bangkok. It's not the bright lights of what's that? We got the Japan, Tokyo, Japan, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a more grimy, but I love it. I love Chinatown in San Francisco, but it'd probably be pretty hard to film there. San Francisco has a lot of theft. I wouldn't want my camera sitting there and then I film myself and someone steals my camera. And this camera is going to be extremely valuable, extremely expensive. So I am going to have a camera person with me, if not on anything, just to bodyguard the camera. And someone said bear spray. So maybe I will bring some bear spray if it's legal. I'll definitely bring some pepper spray if it's legal. In self-defense reasons, you can use it, but any other reasons, you cannot use it. Yeah, I'm going to try to get as many places as I can. I do want to film in Los Angeles, but we're going to see what happens. But there are 2 actors in Los Angeles I want to invite to be in the movie. And we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. My budget is so low that I don't know if a free meal at Denny's is going to cut it. The last time I had an actor in one of my YouTube videos, I said, I'll get you a meal at Denny's, I'll drive you around and do your errands, and I'll get a meal at Denny's. And I was parked outside the guy's house at 11 a.m. And I said, let's go to Denny's. And he's like, oh, no, I got to do some errands and chores first. Can you drive me around? I'm like, sure. So we get to the park to film the YouTube video at 7 p.m. He had me running errands all over Los Angeles for 8 hours solid, and it was not worth the deal. He got the he got the better deal in that situation. He's like, oh, I gotta pay my bill at Verizon, and I'm like, okay. I told him, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go to this restaurant right here because at that point it was already 4:30 p.m. and I hadn't eaten. And so maybe it was 4 p.m., something like that. So he goes to Verizon and he's at the Verizon store. Oh my gosh, like 2.5 hours solid. because he's arguing back and forth with the Verizon manager about a free tablet that he got. There's no such thing as free. Free doesn't exist. Free is a lie. You sign a contract of 1, 2, 3, 4 years to get a free tablet, and let's just put it this way: he's a very stubborn guy, and I don't know if he got out of that tablet contract, but he tried to for 2.5 hours straight. Whew. So, my movie takes place 100 years in the future. It's going to be very futuristic. Futuristic things you've never seen before. The concept of the entire movie you've never heard before, you've never seen before. There's going to be a way to do this you've never seen before, a way to do that you've never seen before. The character is going to be a little bit crazy. How crazy? You know, I mean, he's not going to be off the wall crazy. I mean, he's not going to be Yahoo Serious crazy. I mean, you know, Max Headroom is inspiration. Any futuristic thing I love is inspiration. Okay, so we got someone spamming something bad. Deleted by Tolkien Study. Thank you very much, Tolkien Study, for making sure that this is a drone laws. Yeah, I was looking at some drones the other day, a drone that follows you, and it's like $500 for this tiny drone that follows you. And of course, they show some type of $5,000 camera footage, and then the camera on the thing is smaller than a GoPro, and you know it's not. That commercial on Instagram, I clicked on it. You know they got a handy cam going on, a gimbal. So I am going to need to get a camera gimbal and to get some smooth camera shots. The handy cam, is it called a handy cam? The steady cam, the steady stabilizer, whatever it's called. I think it's called a handy cam or a steady cam, was invented for the movie The Shining. I've watched a lot of Stanley Kubrick stuff. I'm a huge fan. And The Shining, Kubrick wanted the running through the hedge maze scene to be really smooth. He didn't want the hedge maze scene to be bouncing around. So Stanley Kubrick literally had a steady cam invented for that scene. So it's nice and smooth, and it's just a little gyro thing going on where it doesn't bounce too much. And that is like a standard feature in all movies. You never see movies bounce around like that. If they do, they're doing it on purpose for some effect, but it's a very nauseating effect for some people. I can't watch first-person movies that bounce around like that. They make me sick after watching it for 10 minutes. So Stanley Kubrick's innovator, amazing person. Just in case it gets too dark, I got this light. I'm not going to be streaming too long. But I got this light. That's too bright. That is too bright. The button is like invisible. Okay. It's a little bit better, I guess. But Necktie Bandits, I'm going to change the title. I'm going to change the name. If you have any suggestions, I can tell you this much. The word necktie is still going to be in the title. Necktie is still going to be in the name of the title, and you're going to enjoy the movie. Whether you like futuristic movies or not, doesn't really matter. You're going to love this one. It is not the same as any futuristic movie you've ever seen. There's going to be some avant-garde, abstract stuff going on. Yet futuristic and concepts you've never heard or seen. There's going to be a language. You know, kind of like Natsat from Clockwork Orange. But it's not going to be the same. Kind of like slang from Back to the Future Part 2. But it's not going to be the same. Slang in Back to the Future Part 2, for example, we got Bojo. We got Trank. And we got, I don't know, what was it, like a scuzzball? But yeah, that's already slang. So not all of it was super original. I'm going to have really original slang and curse words in the movie. I want there to be 0 curse words in the entire movie, A to Z. You're not going to hear any F-bombs. You're not going to hear any S-bombs. Zero curse words. But in replace of those curse words, 100 years in the future slang curse words that you've never heard, because I invented them, created them from scratch. Now, some I might have been inspired by, some I might have heard, like jank. I know you've probably heard jank from a TV show on Nickelodeon. But jank already existed before that TV show. It just became popularized to an extent by that TV show. I like the word jank, but I don't know if I'm going to use it in the movie. But jank is a pretty good word, pretty good slang. Jank means janky, and janky means crummy. Crummy is janky, and jank means no good. So I kind of like jank, but I don't know if I'm going to use it. I literally have a glossary of probably 15 words I've already invented. Some of them are phrases, some of them are just single words that I've already invented, which mean certain things. And you're going to immediately know what they mean, even though you're not familiar with them. And I'm probably going to throw Honus Wagnered in there. I invented Honus Wagnered, famous baseball player Honus Wagner. I just used it incorrectly on purpose. Instead of saying "to be honest," I say "to be Honus Wagnered," and it's just a stupid thing I say and stupid thing I do. But I'm going to throw it in the movie just for fun. But there's going to be way better, and there's going to be interactions which make no sense. 100 years in the future interactions, which originally were going to be 500 years in the future interactions. And there's not going to be. You're going to understand the character, though. The character does certain things, and I can't reveal too much. But there's going to be crime. There's going to be violence, but not over-the-top violence. I'm not going to be Quentin Tarantino violence. I'm a fan of Quentin Tarantino, but no, I'm not going to be violent like him. I haven't decided if I'm going to have any blood in the movie or not yet. There might be no blood. There might be no blood. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet if there's going to be blood. But there's definitely going to be a little bit of violence here and there. There's going to be walking down the street of a future street, future things going on. And this guy is going to be in his own little world in the future, in the year 2125-ish, give or take. So Necktie Sluggers, yes. If you think of some cool name, let me know. That's a good shot. That's a good try. Necktie Sluggers. So I had a really good one pop into my head about 5 days ago. And then I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good one. And then I went to sleep and I woke up and I didn't write it down. So, man, I feel bad I didn't write it down. It wasn't that good, but it was pretty good. And then I was driving the other day. I'm like, necktie, what? Necktie has to be. So I was thinking necktie gutter. Necktie gutter. No, that doesn't sound too good. But there is going to be a little bit of griminess going on with the movie. There's going to be some grime. Necktie gutter. Nah. But necktie is already a pretty unique word. Very few people say necktie anymore. Most people just say tie. And when I Google searched necktie bandits, before I got necktiebandits.com, there were only 2 results for necktie bandits. That's it. There's an old newspaper clipping, which is now multiplied 10 times, because Google saw my Necktie Bandits announcement on my Twitter page, twitter.com/Razimus, and Google was like, Necktie Bandits, I bet someone else came up with that first. And Google's robots are obsessed with proving someone else did something first. And so they pulled up that same news article 10 times. But the news article said, Necktie Bandits kill again, or they slayed and they killed, and it was only a one-time scenario, a horrific event, and my movie has nothing to do with it. I don't know if they killed the people with neckties, or after the fact there were neckties on the dead people. I don't know the details, kind of freaky. And then the other Google result for Necktie Bandits was some dude on Reddit saying, I hate my boss. He's a necktie bandit. I don't like that guy. The bosses, the management team, are a bunch of necktie bandits. They're robbing us all. So there's that guy. I thought that was hilarious. So those are the only 2 results of the entire internet. So I do like the name Necktie Bandits. Let me know if you like Necktie Bandits. Guttural necktie. I mean, that's interesting. I like that. I like it. Uh, so this is the name I thought of while driving in the car the other day. Necktie Fiasco. It sounds good. Necktie Fiasco. And then I Googled the word fiasco associated with movies. There's already a movie called Fiasco. There's already this and there's already that. And as much as Necktie Fiasco sounds pretty cool, there's no futuristic element to it. Uh, Necktie Sluggers, Guttural Necktie. You like Necktie Fiasco? See, I came up with a really good one. I don't know what it was. It disappeared. Necktie Consciousness? I don't know what it was. It was Necktie Currency, Necktie Cliche. I did think about Necktie Cash, spelled Cache, but nah. Uh, Necktie Cyberpunk. Uh, See, something like Necktie Fiasco has a nice ring to it, but I wanted to have just a little cyberpunk Blade Runner type sound to it. Blade Runner. Blade Runner is an amazing name, awesome movie, and a very cool second movie. So this is going to be a movie I'm making. I'll show you the some of the prop work I'm working on without revealing too much. I do know of a guy, family friend, who did win an Oscar. He won an Oscar for an animated short. Um, what was the animated short? I assumed he was in the 90s because that's when I heard this information. But I guess it could have been in the 80s. So I don't know when he won the animated short, but it wasn't filmed. It wasn't televised. His handing out, him getting the Oscar wasn't a televised event. They only televised the big stars. There's a million technical categories they don't televise. So I have to assume it wasn't televised. But this guy had an Oscar, and I believe I've seen the Oscar on his shelf once. I visited his house. He lived in Solvang, California. So I grew up in the Solvang, California area. I grew up in San Ynez, California. San Ynez, Solvang. I grew up there. Um, so I went to this guy's house once. I'm almost positive I saw the Oscar sitting on his shelf. I didn't. I was just talking with him casually, briefly. I didn't bring it up, but I was told from a family member who knows him personally that he writes scripts, and not only did he win a so what was the short? I got to get the title. So this is the short was described to me. I'm the type of person that I hear something in the 90s. I never research it because you don't really research stuff back then as a kid, you know. And now I have no frame of reference, and the guy doesn't live in Solvang anymore. And so the movie was an animated short with G.I. Joes, but I was told specifically it wasn't the 3.5-inch G.I. Joes, but it was the tall 1970s G.I. Joes. So he did an animated short with the tall, old-fashioned G.I. Joes from the 60s or 70s or whenever G.I. Joes first came out. And he won an Oscar for this animated short. So he's a cool dude. I really want to watch his short, but I don't have any access to it. And really, shorts are resume builders. Kind of like this, my first film, is going to be a resume builder. They're not to be slapped in a DVD and sold. You don't go into the shorts category at the store and buy shorts. Okay, shorts are thrown on social media. Here's the short I made that I was shown at Sundance Film Festival. There it is. And if you're lucky, you get your short plopped into another movie at the beginning or something. But shorts, generally speaking, are not for money. They're literally for the artistic resume building opportunity and for artistic reasons, artistic purposes. My entire movie is going to be not for money. It's a 100% passion project. I've already poured a lot of money into. A lot. I can't say how much. I'd get in trouble. Um, if you don't know, you aren't in the know. As above, so below. If you can't see in the dark, you'll never see the unseen, the invisible world. Trismegistus, Burnt Toast. You like that song? I mean, I worked really hard at that song, and I'm not the best rapper in the world. If those lyrics were handed to a professional rapper, I think that song would be a hit, personally. But because I'm not the best rapper in the world, it's not a hit. But, you know, it's still the MGIC theme song. And MGIC is still the name of my production company. So Necktie Bandits, working title, will be produced by MGIC Productions. Mysterio Alice Ghost Investigation Crew Productions. Most people aren't going to know that. I'm just going to have MGIC Productions with the Sun logo on there. You were in the video. Yes, you were. You were in the video. So yeah, there's going to be humor. Thank you for that. I'm going to have comedy. So if you want to know the exact genre of this movie is going to be a comedy sci-fi movie. Not a sci-fi comedy, but a comedy sci-fi. And the only reason it's a comedy sci-fi is because comedy is a lot easier to reproduce and a lot cheaper to make than $1 million futuristic prop. And that's the only reason this will be a comedy first, sci-fi second movie, and not a sci-fi first, comedy second movie. If I had $1 million, it would be a sci-fi comedy. But that's the genre of the entire movie. Now, there's definitely going to be some action, but not enough to classify it as an action. Or maybe there will be. I can tell you this much: there is going to be futuristic weaponry to an extent. Not real, and nothing real, nothing like the Alec Baldwin situation do we have to worry about. Sad story, rest in peace to that cinematographer, director. Man, very sad. So there's going to be some fake arms going on, nothing real, but nothing on the Buck Rogers level. I'm not going to use my Buck Rogers gun collection. I might show it, I don't know. It might cheapen the scene, but there is a scene where there's a lot of weapons, kind of like a Men in Black gun scene, and that's given away a little bit. It's going to be that. So there is going to be some action going on. My guy, as a necktie bandit, he's going to be a necktie bandit, and to an extent. And I originally wanted it to be a heist movie, and so it might be a comedy sci-fi heist movie. There's definitely going to be some heists going on a level which you've never seen in any Hollywood movie. I know for a fact Hollywood steals ideas, even from the lowest of the low locations like this YouTube channel. How do I know? Because other than the comic book guy who got the name Hoax Hunters from who knows where, he got it from me. Because when I asked him on Twitter, oh, did you get Hoax Hunters from my Hoax Hunter YouTube show? The guy blocked me on Twitter immediately. The guy who invented that Hoax Hunters, invented in quotes. I'm sure he invented, actually without quotes, a decent comic. He just wanted a rock star title, and he snagged that rock star title from my Hoax Hunter show, which was already established and had over 1 million views before he ever heard of it, before he ever conceived his comic book. A talented comic book creator snagged my title, Hoax Hunters, and what he didn't know is my original title for Hoax Hunter was Hoax Hunters. I couldn't get a second Hoax Hunter, and I thought it would make no sense with one person being the Hoax Hunters, so I changed the title to Hoax Hunter, and I registered multiple things with Hoax Hunters, including Twitter, including an email address, proving that I did originally intend it to be Hoax Hunters with an S. And he made a comic book called Hoax Hunters, blah, blah, blah. He sold the movie rights. So now, theoretically, there could be a movie coming out in the future called Hoax Hunters. And that's not right, because I should have the right to have a movie called Hoax Hunter or Hoax Hunters. I can toss an S or take an S off. Anyway, I don't think that movie's going to go anywhere. Hollywood kills movie scripts 24/7, 365. So I know the guy who did this animated short won an Oscar. He went on to write a script about 3 witches. I'm not going to say the name of the movie because he didn't write the movie, okay? He just wrote a script about 3 witches, period, okay? You could go on and on and on and say, what 3 witches? And Schmokus Flokus. It kind of rhymes with Schmokus Flokus. But that movie, Schmokus Flokus, by Disney, and I don't want to name names and point fingers, but I know this guy personally, won an Oscar for a short animated film, okay? So if he wasn't an Oscar winner, I might say the story is just hearsay, a rumor. But this is from a family member who knows the guy personally, and I know the guy to the extent where I've been to his house and I'm pretty sure I saw the Oscar on his shelf. I didn't get a good view. It was on a far shelf, far in the back, next to the books, but I'm almost positive it was on the top shelf on the right, sitting there. Saw this gold trophy looking thing, and I didn't even know it was an Oscar because I was told after the fact he won an Oscar. And I was like, oh, I think I saw it. But he wrote a script about three witches. He shopped it around Hollywood, tried to sell this three witches script. And, Shakespeare wrote a play, Macbeth, which had three witches in it. So three witches is a pretty generic concept. And so no one invented three witches. If anyone did, it was William Shakespeare, or the guy who wrote for William Shakespeare. They say in modern times there might have been someone else writing William Shakespeare stuff, and that William Shakespeare might have been a pseudonym. But anyway, this guy, his script, they said no. Disney said no. Probably Paramount said no. All the people he shopped it to said no. Like, three witches, we're good. No, no thanks. And like 1 year later, maybe 2 years later, I don't know how many years later, it could have been 3 years later, but I know it was a very short time frame. A few years later, after he shopped it to Hollywood, Hocus Schmocus Flocus Jocus comes out with three witches eerily similar to his script. Now, I can't say it's the same thing. I'm not claiming plagiarism, okay? What these lawyers in Hollywood do is they legally, rightfully, lawfully lift ideas, and then they change every aspect of every name and every location and every place until it's theoretically, technically, and from a legal standpoint, their intellectual property. But that literally happened to a guy that I know of and I did meet multiple times. And I feel bad for that guy. It happens all the time. Sad story. Did he write the original Schmocus Clocus? I mean, I would have to read his script to really compare. I've never read his script, and his script is probably collecting dust in his closet while he's sad thinking about it. But I think he moved on and is hopefully having a decent life. I remember one time I went to Universal Studios Hollywood, and I haven't been there a million times. I've probably been to Universal Studios Hollywood, I don't know, what have I been there, 6, 7, 8 times tops? And one of the random times I went there, I saw him there with his girlfriend, that guy who wrote that script, who won the Oscar. I saw him. I was like, there he is. And that was interesting. I ran into him. So maybe at that point in time, maybe he was trying to shop more things in Hollywood. I only live 2 hours from LA. And I only live like 20 minutes from where I used to live, which is close to Solvang. And I'm going to be looking for futuristic looking locations, futuristic looking scenes. I see a brand new like shopping complex, and I see them have like a generic facade for perhaps a future building, or it's like a weird light thing. Maybe it's for Christmas, I don't know, but it looked kind of futuristic. I was like, I'm going to shoot in front of that. Hopefully they don't pull that thing down. So I'm going to have to be using free sets that are just floating around the city, If you know of any futuristic California sets I can just walk in front of. Oh my gosh, I found the most amazing futuristic. Okay, this video is not going to last long. I'm not going to talk forever. But there's kind of a dystopian feel to my movie. Necktie Bandits. Working title, probably going to change. Is it going to be Necktie Fiasco? It's going to be Necktie something. Necktie is a pretty strong word. Bandits. See, I watched Home Alone during Home Alone 1 and 2 during Christmas time, and the guy's like, we're the wet bandits. And then I'm watching Home Alone 2. He's like, we're the sticky bandits. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes Necktie Bandit sound like a joke. It just doesn't sound as strong as it did before. When you compare it to that, Gattaca. Gattaca, definitely cool movie. Very amazing futuristic movie. What was that with? Ethan Hawke. And pretty cool movie. Pretty amazing movie. Dystopian, kind of sad, obviously. Very sad scenes here and there. But I saw this store locally, and the huge sign, which looks like it was made 50 years ago, says discount. That's it. That's all it says is discount. That's it. And I was like, wow, that's in a way that's like the most futuristic shopping store sign I've ever seen in my life. Kind of sounds like a wall. It feels like a Wall-E, like idiocracy. It looks like an idiocracy type sign, like in real life. Just discount. That's it. Uh, so I'm gonna be walking past the discount sign. That's a heads up. Just a snippet, sneak preview. And I Googled this discount, and Google has zero results for this discount shop and this discount sign. So I thought that was funny. There's zero results. Uh, but I'll go shopping a couple times here and there, I guess, and I'm gonna be going heisting, stealing stuff in the fictional universe for this movie. Stay tuned. I will be giving you more updates. I'm going to show you the laboratory, my lab, where I've been working furiously for 4 months on my short movie. Thank you for supporting me, Uma Thurman in Gattaca, amazing actress. Quentin Tarantino wrote her role for Kill Bill specifically. He's like, you have to be in it. And she did an amazing job in that movie. Um, you know, Blade Runner, Max Headroom. There are many inspirations for my movie. The Fifth Element. Um, Anything comedy, Back to the Future Part 2, and futuristic is going to be an inspiration. I want it to be funny. You know the movie They Live? How there's a lot of cool catchphrases in that movie. I want there to be a lot of cool catchphrases in my movie to the point where I almost want every single line to be quotable and every single line to be solid and like not like blase conversation. Although, I just watched Equalizer 3 the other day on Netflix. Equalizer 3, a pretty good movie. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Equalizer 3 has a couple scenes where Denzel Washington is just sitting back, relaxing, just sipping some tea. He's sitting back, relaxing, just kicking back. And there's atmosphere and ambiance connected with the movie. Every good movie has a scene where the characters are just sitting there doing nothing. If a movie doesn't have a scene where the characters are sitting there doing nothing, there's no ambiance. If it's just room to room talking, it feels like a cheap soap opera. But when there's a sitting and relaxing and doing nothing just for a moment, it builds a lot of ambiance and it makes the movie a trillion times better. And then I don't want to badmouth this movie, but there's a movie called Lift. It's brand new. It's about a heist, and I'm huge into heists. I've probably watched 100 heist movies, and Lift is one of the worst heist movies I've ever seen in my life. And I'll tell you why I don't like Lift. And it's not Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart produces it and did a decent job. Just the director has every single scene in the entire movie, the actor talking, and then they jump to the next place, talking, jump to the next place, talking, jump to the next place, do something, jump to the next place, do something. And there are zero ambiance scenes of the characters just sitting there and building a believable atmosphere of immersion. And that's what I think a good movie has, a believable ambiance, atmosphere of immersion that can only exist when you allow the viewer to have breathing space and breathing room of the characters just sitting back and being themselves in an atmosphere where there's not a million things going on. They're just kicking back, sipping some tea, whatever they're doing. But there has to be a scene where the viewer can breathe and relax and have a break from all the action and talking. ADHD directed, can't stand it. I heard, not to be politically incorrect, I mean, my cat is a genius, Nixie, but Nixie might have ADHD. That's probably normal in cats. Cats have reflex time is amazing. I saw a video of a cat, sniffing a snake, and the snake is like, and the cat is like easily walks away, and the slow snake doesn't even have a chance to bite it. Cats have amazing reflexes, but my cat is particularly, she's all over the place, but that's normal for a cat. Normal for a cat. It's a positive spin. There's nothing wrong with ADHD. I know people that have it, and sometimes I wish I had it, and maybe I do. I mean, I don't think so. But off track a little bit. Lift. Watch Lift. Check it out. It's an enjoyable, if you get the Clockwork Orange eyeballs open and you're forced to watch it, it's not the worst thing in the world. But it reminds me of Suicide Squad, the original Suicide Squad movie, which isn't that old. At the last second, the producers had a different director direct it, or a different editor edit it. That's what happened. At the last second that the original director edited it, producers didn't like it. Producers forked over the cash, have the money, and all the power. They can do whatever they want. And they're like, thanks for directing this, but we're going to have someone else edit it. And unlike Stanley Kubrick, he didn't have in his contract, I get the final edit. And I get the final cut. And that's what Kubrick had in a lot of his contracts, including Eyes Wide Shut. And so they had to be really meticulous, rest in peace, after Kubrick passed away, to not destroy anything from Eyes Wide Shut, which is why Eyes Wide Shut's a little bit clunky, because Kubrick didn't direct it. He directed all of it. He didn't edit all of it, because he passed away before all of the editing was 100% done. For example, the music. 0% of the music was actually synced by Kubrick. He had notes on what music to be in Eyes Wide Shut, which is why the notes, the ding, 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 ding. I think Kubrick was going to use that piece of music because he had it in his notes, but I don't think he was going to use it in that exact context. Who knows? We will never know. Anyway, Suicide Squad is one of the worst cut, what would you call it, a AAA movie? What's it called when it's a major motion picture? But it's the worst edited major motion picture I've ever seen in my life. Suicide Squad is, and when I watched it, I was like, did the guy who made the trailer for TV commercials edit the entire movie? Because the entire movie felt like a 2-hour-long teaser trailer, a sizzle reel. Didn't feel like a movie. Felt like I'm watching a sizzle reel the whole time. Really poorly edited. And then when I looked it up on Google and people were complaining about it on Twitter, that's virtually exactly what happened. The producers hired the sizzle reel guy to re-edit the already edited movie to be more sizzling. Well, they destroyed it. They fizzled it is what happened. It's a fizzle reel. So apparently the original director of Suicide Squad wants the original uncut or whatever. And I'm not a huge fan of Leto's Joker, I'll tell you that. Although Leto did a good job in many movies, okay? Not a huge fan of this and that here and there associated with him, especially the Joker. But I heard there's like a 20-minute extra Joker footage, and I don't know if I want to see that, but I would watch it anyway, just to see that director, see if there's more interesting stuff going on. But so yeah, this has gone on way too long. But Necktie Bandits, if you can help me with the last name, and let's face it, you can even plop it in the front. You can call it Systematic Necktie. No, I don't think so. Cyclical Necktie. I think necktie should be the first word. So Necktie Fiasco was a placeholder. I'm thinking it has to sound good. Necktie Ambush. Necktie Rodeo. Necktie Junkyard. Necktie Graffiti. Necktie Graffiti. Nah. See, it can't have a famous name already from a famous movie to an extent. It has to be something that can't be generic as well. Google has to know that, ooh, there's that, and it's a specific thing. Cool necktie, necktie cool. It's too generic. Good necktie, necktie good. It has to be a really jump out and kick you in the face type of a word. Gunpowder Milkshake, I consider it to be a very horrible movie. But, I'm a fan of the actress who was in it. And, she did the best she could do. The director happened to direct badly, or the editing was edited poorly. Whatever the case, probably bad script and mediocre directing. But Gunpowder Milkshake is an amazing title. Gunpowder Milkshake. It's a pretty kick you in the face title. I like the title a lot, dislike the movie. Necktie Bandits. I'm disliking the bandits part more and more and more. So I'll figure it out. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the help. Bullet Train. Karen Gillian lives in Santa Barbara. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I go to Santa Barbara on a regular basis. I would tell you my favorite restaurant in Santa Barbara, but I don't want you to book it because that place sells out nowadays. I've been there twice. I've been to my favorite restaurant in Santa Barbara twice. It's off of State Street, not on State Street. It's off State Street by a parallel road, one off, and it has very few seating. And every time I try to get there, you got to have a reservation 2 weeks in advance. And you can't book farther back in advance than that because they're closed. The reservations are closed in that window, so it's kind of hard to get in. But it's an amazing California-style restaurant. And in California, we have California-style restaurants. And a California-style restaurant means a lot of avocado all over the place. Avocado this, avocado that, avocado entrees, avocado burgers, avocado pizza, avocado dessert, avocado everywhere. that's But I love avocado, and I love their avocado appetizer. It's freaking delicious. But my favorite pub in Santa Barbara is the James Joyce. So if you ever go to Santa Barbara, hit up the James Joyce. It's a legitimate Irish pub. They have one of my favorite on tap, and it has escaped my mind right now what it is. Jeez Louise. Of course, they got Guinness on tap, one of my favorites. Then they have another Irish ale on tap. I can't remember what it's called. But I'm running out of time. Big Joyce fan. Yeah, you should have checked it out when you were in the area. The James Joyce is it's a kickback, cool place. I like it. I enjoy it. They got peanuts on the floor sometimes. They got a pool table. They got darts. They got it all. So check out the James Joyce. They even got entertainment sometimes. They got like a piano, something to that effect. What's it called? I can't look it up. But stay tuned. More updates coming soon. I pretty much retired from YouTube, but I will try to do this or that here and there. But I have to work on these illustrations for this book. And there's multiple books. There's multiple books I got to do these illustrations on. And AI art doesn't cut it. You got to be legitimate. You got to draw it yourself. AI is actually a good tool for ideas. And you bounce those ideas back and forth, and then you make something your own. So I did try Midjourney for a good 4 months. And I like Midjourney, the AI art tool, but people know the difference between AI art and real art. People know the difference. People are not fooled easily. I can tell you this, Twitter is becoming a robotic meme churning out center where someone posts something interesting and there's 50 meme videos. Oh, this is interesting too. And they're literally just posting that on a bot level because now you can theoretically get paid if you get a million impressions. So they're harvesting these millions of impressions, stealing views with unrelated video memes because Elon has incentivized it. And I'm getting kind of sick of this meme garbage. But I wouldn't mind if a scene from Necktie Bandits turned into a meme. We will see. I want to have a lot of cool scenes. And as far as anyone watching, As far as any of you watching, you can't make it to California. Hey, if you can make it to California, I could put you in the movie. I'll tell you this much: it's a non-union movie. I know two union actors, two SAG-AFTRA actors. One of them hasn't paid his dues in a while, so technically he's not super bound and restrained by the rules and laws. But the other one pays his dues religiously, and that other guy that pays his dues religiously just joined SAG-AFTRA probably 5 years ago. I asked him to be in one of my YouTube videos. He's a professional actor. I don't know what he does on the side, but he probably does something on the side because you've never heard of him. But he said he was in a movie with Natalie Portman. And so that's cool. He was an extra, maybe with one line, in a scene somewhere with Natalie Portman. So that's cool. I mean, I support him 100%. And I wanted him to be in one of my YouTube videos. I was like, can you please be in one of my YouTube videos? And he's like, I'm at the gym. And I'm like, come on, man. It's only going to take a few seconds. And he's like, well, maybe. Okay, maybe. And I'm at the gym. and so he had this gym excuse multiple times. And I realized he's SAG-AFTRA. Technically, if you're SAG-AFTRA, you can't be in a non-union production. But a YouTube video is a different story. There's always a little loophole for the small, tiny guy. And if an actor is in a tiny YouTube video, it really doesn't go against the studio competition laws in the SAG-AFTRA thing. You have to only work on union projects, but that's not really a union or non-union project. It's just social media at that point. So there is a social media loophole. Any actor can socially mediaize themselves and throw their face on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. No one's going to bother them about that. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon, but this actor who said I'm at the gym, I'm not going to ask him to be in the movie. I'm not going to ask because he'll say he's at the gym again, or he'll say too small fry for me. But I think this movie is going to be a resume builder to an extreme degree, and hopefully I'll have another movie. Hopefully the next movie will be a legitimate budget with legitimate cameraman, a light man, a cinematographer, an art director. Pee Wee Herman, rest in peace. Paul Rubens, rest in peace. Pee Wee Herman forever, said he was recommended to have an art director in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And the producers are like, art director? What do we need an art director for? And perhaps it was Tim Burton that recommended the art director, or perhaps he was Paul Rubens' friend. But someone was like, you know what, you need an art director. Whatever they did, it was a winning, amazing, magic combination of things. And I wouldn't mind having an art director here and there, but at this point, I am the art director. I'm the prop master. I am the wardrobe creator, cultivator, creator. I'm going to be the actor, and I'm going to be in character. And am I a professional actor? See, I'm going to have to let the audience be the judge on that, on a level of, am I a good actor, or am I a bad actor, or a mediocre actor? I have to let the audience be the judge on that, okay? I'm not going to lie and say I'm the greatest actor, Leonardo DiCaprio. Because the fact is, I might not be the best in the world, but if I hone and create this character specifically for this specific role, and I'm going to live as this character, it's already starting to take effect. I'm already starting to think and act and want things that this character wants, which are super obscure, stupid things. For example, toys. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but there's going to be futuristic toys I'm going to make from scratch that don't exist. Because there has to be some ambiance, there has to be some level of things you can touch and taste and feel from the future, 100 years in the future. I want it to be more of a laid-back, futuristic movie, but I want there to be Stanley Kubrick style detail going on with every tiny aspect of every room and everything in the whole movie, including tiny toys, so on and so forth. And I open up the game Cyberpunk 2077, and I looked around the cyberpunk world. I'm like, what can I get from this cyberpunk world? And the only one thing I got from the cyberpunk game was stickers. There's stickers stuck in V's apartment. So I'm going to have some stickers, some futuristic stickers on the wall to an extent, and tiny, 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 tiny things like that. But I'm going to have futuristic this going on, futuristic that going on. There's definitely some inspiration from The Fifth Element, some inspiration from all over the place. Stay tuned. As far as you, if you want to be in my movie, Necktie Bandits is the working title, but the actual title might change. Necktie Fiasco, who knows? It might change into something else. If you want to be in it, theoretically speaking, I could have some Skype calls, some, FaceTime calls recorded, some Skype calls recorded, just for some screen conversations between the main character, some side characters, and some other characters. Maybe, talking about a scheme concerning a heist in the movie's universe. So theoretically speaking, if you want to be in the movie, possibly, there could be some acting via Skype, but I would have to say a good 95% of the actors are going to be actually walking around in California with me as I film. I have secured a bar. So there is a bar which I have full access to. Going to film a scene at a bar, drink a drink, and it's going to be a futuristic drink. So I'm going to make a futuristic drink that doesn't exist, whatever, so on and so forth. Futuristic cocktail, yada, yada, yada. It's going to have atmosphere, okay? Blade Runner is inspiration, Man, I like even eating noodles, even just the noodle scenes in both Blade Runner movies. Just small, tiny, tiny things. But if you want to do a Skype call or a FaceTime call or some type of internet recorded acting that will be in the movie, let me know. Razimus at gmail.com. Whether you can act or not, I'm open. This is a non-union, independent film. No huge weight of whether you want to be in it or not. There's whether you're a professional actor or not, there's no problem. I'll tell you this much. I am at one point during production going to walk down Hollywood Boulevard, and I am going to ask Spider-Man or Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley impersonators if they want to be in the movie. Actual Hollywood Boulevard actors that haven't gotten a job in a while, I'm actually going to hire them for a scene here or there. And so I'm open, literally. If I'm open to Spider-Man, who's on Hollywood Boulevard and hasn't had a huge amount of acting in his life, and maybe he doesn't act great, or maybe he's the best actor in the world and no one knows. But I'm going to be grabbing actors from all over the place. I'm going to be asking actors I know, actors I don't know, and I am going to have some scenes where I'm talking on screens. There are multiple screens in the movie. Futuristic world, screens all over the place. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon concerning talking about my project. I pretty much can't really make a full-length edit video until my project is completed. I'm an artist on a level where it is an OCD level of artistry, where I can't really move on to the next project until this project is fully full-fledged and finished and completed, and there is the final product. But stay tuned, more episodes coming soon. I thank you for watching. I appreciate all your support. Be seeing you.